So as you can see, all of the exercise equipment is out of the office. We're going to be talking about where it went. We're going to be talking about the pros and cons of the new setup versus the old setup, and we're going to be answering some questions from the original video from the comments. And before we get started, we're almost to 1,000 subscribers, so if you want to hit that subscribe button, it would mean the world to me. Let's go. So now that we're done with the workout, I'll give you a quick look around the room. We'll talk briefly about each piece of equipment. I did cover each piece in more detail in the previous video, and I also gave some alternative picks for each piece of equipment in the previous video. So if you want to know about the equipment more specifically, you can look at that, but I will have each piece linked down in the description if you're interested in checking it out. This video is mainly going to be about the pros and cons of this setup versus the previous setup, to kind of give you an idea of some things to consider when arranging your home gym for yourself. And then of course I will answer those questions from the comments at the end. So right as you come in, we have the heat press. It's not really the best place that it could have been, but it's really the only place that it will fit and still accommodate all of this stuff. So kind of coming up the left wall, we have the bench. We have Tracy's work setup. So this is actually her office and the new home gym. So you have where we print the shirts, we have the normal printer where we write down all the shirts. So all of her setup is right there. And then her computer's on the floor. And then we have the weights. So we have the Ironmaster adjustable dumbbells right there. We have some extra free dumbbells down on the floor. We have the curl bar, and then I keep all the accessories just kind of behind the door just so that they're out of the way. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the weight, which of course is the most important part of any home gym, and I decided to go with the Ironmaster dumbbells. These go up to 75 pounds a piece, and then I have the first expansion kit, which takes each of them up to 120 pounds a piece. And then the way they adjust is very simple. You just turn this little screw right here, pull it out. Once this knob lines up with the knob that's on the top of the head of the dumbbell, you change out the weights, slide that back in, lock it down. So it's pretty quick. It's not the fastest adjusting dumbbells that are out there. The Powerblock Pros are going to be the fastest, but these feel like more traditional dumbbells. So if you take a look at them from this angle, you can see this looks like a regular dumbbell, and unlike the spin lock dumbbells, there's no stop sticking out of the end, so they're a lot more comfortable than those. So these, in my opinion, are the best dumbbell if you want one that feels like a traditional dumbbell. Now, if you want one that adjusts a little bit faster and you don't care if it feels like a traditional dumbbell and you're okay spending a little bit more money, you could go with the Powerblock Pros, but these are the ones that I think are the best value for the money. Next up, we'll talk about the bench. Right here, we have the Rep Fitness AB5100. This thing is built like a tank. It's heavy, it's sturdy, it's not flimsy, it's not gonna, fold around on you and stuff. It's not wobbly and shackledy. This thing weighs 90 something pounds, so it's very quality. In terms of the adjustments, the seat adjusts from negative 15 degrees, so a 15-degree decline, all the way up to 45 degrees. And then the back pad adjusts from flat, so 0 degrees, all the way up to 90 degrees. Now, the cool thing about this bench is on the back here, there's a little place where you can buy an optional leg attachment. So the way that works is you attach it onto the back right here, and then you raise up the bench. You can lay backwards here so it holds on your feet, and you lay onto this side of the bench. That way you can do your decline ab work, your decline bench press work, all of that great kind of thing. This thing's amazing. I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, one thing that I would recommend for your home gym that I don't actually have here is a pull-up bar. I was going to get one. I thought I had one at my parents' house, but I ultimately decided not to get one because my parents have a power rack at their house and they live less than a mile from here. So I just decided to do my pull-ups on days that I'm working out there. And then of course in Alabama, the gyms are now open again, so I can just do pull-ups when I'm at the gym. I just didn't feel the need to have one extra piece of equipment to keep up with. And the reason why you would want to have a pull-up bar is because it's hard to get the most out of your back training if you don't have the ability to do a vertical pulling exercise. The last thing that I would basically consider essential for any home gym is going to be a nice set of resistance bands. You can get a set like this for anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks, and it's gonna have everything in here that you're gonna need. It's gonna have a couple of single handles, it's gonna have your ankle straps, it's gonna have a door anchor, all of that good stuff. And the reason why a resistance band kit is so good for a home gym is most people training at home aren't gonna have access to cables, which really limits the variety of exercises that you're able to do. So having a kit like this is gonna add a lot of different angles that you can do different exercises with. So you can do stuff like glute kickbacks, you can do stuff like lat pull downs. So a lot of exercises that you wouldn't normally be able to do without cables, then you can use these basically as your cable set. Now before getting into the pros and cons of this new setup and into the comments, we're gonna go through a quick lightning round of some good accessories that are nice to have. Ab wheel. Pretty self-explanatory. Ab rollouts are a great core exercise and they're not expensive, so might as well go ahead and grab one. Versa grips. If you're fortunate enough to have a lot of weight at home and you're doing exercises where you're limited by your grip strength, then you can use these to help hold on to the weights while you're doing that exercise. Blood flow restriction bands. These are great for those of you who may be a little bit limited on the amount of weight that you have at home available to you. So basically the 10-second version of blood flow restriction training is that you're able to use a lighter weight for higher reps and get a similar growth response to as if you were using heavier weights. Lastly, and most importantly, this little piece of foam. No, seriously, I actually use this in my workouts. So I've been doing a lot of neck extensions and neck curls, and then this, I place it on my forehead or on the back of my head, and this little piece of foam keeps the weights from scratching my head when doing those exercises. So now let's talk about the pros and the cons of having the equipment in here versus in my office. And the first pro is obviously that the workout equipment is no longer in my office. So when I'm working out, I'm away from my office and I'm not getting distracted by work while I'm working out. The next pro is that I don't have to step over the bench every time I need to write on the whiteboard or move the bench when I need to get in the closet. It's on the opposite end of the house as the living room, so even if Tracy's in the living room watching TV, I can still be listening to music and not have to wear headphones, and we're not battling each other's volume. In this setup, we were actually able to space the dumbbell rack slightly further away from the wall, which makes it a little bit easier to change out the weights. Since you have to pull the pin out of the back side of the dumbbell, once you start getting heavier up in the weights, once you get up to 100 pounds or so, then you have to have a little bit of extra room because you have the longer screw that goes in the back side of the dumbbells. So you have to have it a little bit further away from the wall, or you have to slide the dumbbells back and forth on top of the little tabletop in order to get that screw into the dumbbell. And then getting into the cons, the first con of this room is that it is smaller than my office. And with all of the non-workout related equipment in here, so Tracy has her desk there with all of her stuff on it, the computer's sitting on the floor next to that, and then we have the heat press right here. This is really the only configuration that would work with all of this stuff, and we're kind of a little bit limited on space around the bench. So if you'll see, I'm sitting on the bench here. The heat press is about 2 foot on this side of the bench, and then the wall is less than 2 foot from the other end of the bench. So when you're changing exercises, you have to kind of inch the bench back and forth a little bit just to try to accommodate the exercise that you're doing and to try to have enough space so that you're not hitting the wall. When, like if you're doing tricep extensions, you don't want to hit the wall there. And then, when you're putting the dumbbells on your knees to do a dumbbell bench, you don't want to hit the heat press, or you have to keep it spaced a little bit further into the middle of the room so you're not hitting the wall. So the space constraint is a little bit more in this room, so that's something that you want to consider, is how to configure the room. If you have the option to put it in different rooms, look at what all's already in there in the shape of the room, so that way you can kind of see, okay, if I'm doing this exercise, am I gonna have enough room? All that kind of consideration. So just kind of look at the configuration of where everything is going to be once it's done before you go through the trouble of moving your stuff into a certain room. Another con that comes with that is the fact that the dumbbell rack is against the far wall. So when I'm doing like a heavy bench or something, I have to pick up the dumbbells and kind of walk across the room and then swing my leg around the bench so that I can lay back on the bench. So it's a little bit more difficult to get on the bench, especially like I said with that heat press being right here. So again, the space around the bench is an important factor to consider. Another downside to being in this room versus in the office up front is the fact that this is a little bit smaller of a room, and the fact that there's also less natural light coming in here. There's just the one small window versus the two double windows in the front office. So it feels a little bit more claustrophobic in here. So if you're somebody that's prone to getting a little bit crazy, if you feel cramped in, that is something to consider. Now, I know a lot of you out there are not gonna have the option to pick which room that you put your exercise equipment in. You're basically just gonna have to put it where it fits. But if you do have the option to choose which room you're gonna put it in, and you have the option to put it in a room where there is more natural light, that is something that I would recommend doing. Another con is the fact that this room is in the back of the house. So if I want to do something like lunges or step-ups in the front yard, then I need to grab the dumbbells, walk all the way down the hall, walk through the dining room, walk through the living room, put the dumbbells down, open the door, pick them back up, walk out onto the porch, put the dumbbells down, shut the door, pick the dumbbells back up, walk down the front steps, just to be able to do those exercises outside. And similarly with the resistance bands, I have to walk all the way to the front of the house so that I can anchor the bands to the front door. And as a side note, you should be anchoring your bands to an exterior door, not to an interior door, because the exterior doors are more sturdy and you don't want to damage your door or your door frames, so make sure to anchor those to an exterior door. But that part's not a huge deal because I haven't been doing a ton of resistance band exercises here lately anyway. I've been doing all of my cable exercises at my parents' house. We set up a DIY cable setup down in their basement, which by the way is going to be what next week's video is. So if you want to know how to do a DIY cable setup in your own house, and it's very inexpensive, then make sure to turn on notifications so that you can watch next week's video. Now, I know it may seem like the cons outweigh the pros because of how many I listed, but when you consider how big those pros are versus just the little nitpicky things about the cons, the pros do still far outweigh the cons. So now we'll answer the comments from the previous videos that you guys had. The first question is, just curious how you came to the rep bench when Ironmaster has their Super Bench Pro. So what he's referring to is the Ironmaster's Super Bench Pro has a ton of attachments. It has a leg extension attachment, a leg curl attachment. It has the same attachment that this one does, has the little leg thing where you can do your decline work. It has anything that you could possibly think of. There's even a cable attachment that goes to it, so you can do lat pull downs with it. So as far as versatility, there's nothing that I'm aware of on the market that beats the Ironmaster Super Bench. But the reason why I decided to go with this one instead is because I bought the equipment that I bought looking ahead into what I want the home gym to be in the future. So at some point, my wife and I are going to be building a house. That house is going to have a basement, and we're going to have a more well-built home gym in that basement. So this is basically the stuff that I wanted to go in there. So the versatility of that bench didn't necessarily influence my decision. I bought the rep bench because it is a little bit sturdier, it's a little bit beefier, higher quality bench, and that was the main thing that I was looking for. So that's why I didn't purchase that one. Do you need the middle separator in the stand? Referring to the Ironmaster stand. So this guy, he tossed his, and apparently I did message him back, and apparently he's not experiencing any issues in terms of the structural integrity of the stand, but I am fairly certain it does play at least a little bit of a structural component, so I would not advise throwing it away, but he says he's not having an issue, so, you know, whatever. I have doubts between Ironmaster and FlexBell. Which ones do you prefer? So FlexBell, those dumbbells are the ones where you just grab the handle and twist it, and that's all you have to do to change out the weights. So that type of design is going to be the fastest changing design that there is. The one downside to the FlexBells is that they only go up to 50 pounds. So anybody who plans on making lifting a long-term hobby or a lifestyle, if you will, you hate when people say that, you're gonna outgrow those dumbbells pretty quickly. So that's why I would recommend going either with the Ironmaster or the Powerblock Pro. Is the EZ bar you have compatible with the Ironmaster weights? Yes, they are compatible. The Ironmaster dumbbells use standard 1-inch hole spacing with the weights. So any type of bar that uses your standard 1-inch weights, so like your EZ bar or straight bar that uses the 1-inch shaft, then you're gonna be able to use those with that type of bar. And like I said in the beginning, if you want more information on any of these specific pieces of equipment, I did go into more detail on each piece in the 1.0 video, so you can check that out down in the description. And then for all of the pieces that where I've done an individual review, I'll include those links down below as well. And then for those of you who are wanting to make sure every single dollar that you spend on your home gym equipment counts, you're on a little bit stricter of a budget, I do have a budget home gym build video as well, and I will include that down in the description also. And again, we're almost to 1,000 subs, so I appreciate all of you who are watching. If you like the video, please go hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hate it, give it a thumbs down. If you want more content just like this, consider subscribing, or you can check out one of the videos that will be up on the screen. You can also check us out on the Treadaway Training Blogcast. We're there every Sunday at 3 p.m. That's treadawaytraining.com/blog. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you tomorrow. And at the end, we're gonna answer some questions from the comments in the previous video. And you weren't ready for that. I could've.
Keep talking.
So as you can see, all of the equipment.
I stood up when it was the absolute wrong time.
What's up?
Hey.